My parents said, "Your sister deserves it more," and gave her $90,000 for her dream wedding, while I struggled with student loans. So I walked away. 3 years later, they drove past my mansion and asked, "Why does she have that?" Growing up, I was always sure Olivia was my favorite. She was 3 years older, blonde and bubbly. Everything my parents wanted in a daughter. I was the quiet one, a bookworm with frizzy brown hair who chose computing lessons over cheerleading practice. My father, Richard, had a modestly successful car business, while my mother, Linda, had never worked a day in her life. They were not wealthy, but they were comfortable enough to thoroughly indulge one child while treating the other as an afterthought. Olivia received a brand new Honda Civic for her 17th birthday. When I reached 17, I received a bus pass and a lesson about responsibility. She attended state college and lived in a sorority house that our parents totally sponsored. I worked 4 jobs to get through community college before transferring to a university 3 hours away. The pattern was evident, but I promised myself it will change someday. Perhaps if I proved myself, people would recognize my worth. How naive I was. Olivia got engaged 4 years ago to her fiancé, Ethan, a middle manager at a logistics company. The wedding planning began quickly, and my mother could not stop talking about it. Every Sunday supper turned into a 3-hour conversation about flower arrangements, venue alternatives, and dress fittings. I sat there fork-liding food around my plate, unseen as usual. Then came the announcement, which changed everything. We were at my parents' place, and Olivia was discussing her wedding budget with Mum and Dad. I was only half listening when I heard the amount $90,000. My head shot up so quickly that I nearly gave myself whiplash. Wait, what? I inquired. Surely I misheard. My father didn't even look at me. "We're giving your sister $90,000 for the wedding. It's what she deserves for finding such a good man." I felt as if the room had shifted sideways. $90,000. I'd survived on ramen noodles and worked overnight jobs at a grocery shop to pay for textbooks. I graduated with $48,000 in school loans that I was still paying off, and they were simply giving Olivia enough money to purchase a house. That's a lot of money," I said, scarcely audible. Olivia beams. "I know, right? We're thinking of having it at the Riverside estate. It's going to be absolutely perfect." I looked at my parents, something urgent forcing its way up my throat. "Do you think I mean I'm still paying off my student loans, and if there's money available, maybe I could get some help with no?" My mother's voice pierced through my words like a knife. She did not even let me finish. "You made your choices, Claire. You chose that expensive university instead of staying local. You chose to study computer science instead of something practical." "Computer science isn't practical," I inquired, puzzled. My father finally looked at me, and the disappointment in his eyes was not new, but it still hurt. "Your sister is building a life, starting a family. She needs support. You're just thinking about yourself as usual." The air had left my lungs. "I'm thinking about myself. I worked 4 jobs while Olivia partied through college on your dime. That's enough," my father shouted, his voice raised. "Your sister knows how to appreciate what she's given. She's always been grateful, always been the daughter we could be proud of. And I'm not." The query sounded shattered. Years of rejection finally forming words. My mother sighed as if I had exhausted her. "Claire, you don't deserve any help. You've never appreciated what we've done for you. You've always been difficult, always been distant. Olivia includes us in her life. When was the last time you called just to chat?" I rose up, my chair scraping against the hardwood flooring. "When was the last time you answered when I did call?" Nobody replied. Olivia was uncomfortable for about a half second before returning to her seating chart. I grabbed my handbag and walked away. As I approached my car, I overheard my mother say, "You're being dramatic, Claire. Come back and apologize." I did not go back. I drove to my small apartment, sat on my second-hand couch, and made a decision. If I didn't deserve their support, that's fine. I had no need for what they had. My life would be unique and fantastic. The next morning, I blocked all of their phones. I deleted Facebook, Instagram, and all of our connections. My co-worker Hannah believed I was insane when I told her what had happened. During our lunch break, she asked, "You're cutting off your entire family over money." "It's not about the money," I attempted to explain. "It's about them telling me to my face that I'm worthless to them, that I don't deserve basic help, while they fund my sister's fairy tale." Hannah squeezed my hand. "Then show them what you're worth." And this is exactly what I did. The first several weeks were more difficult than I thought. I'd find myself reaching for my phone to contact my mother about anything trivial, a humorous incident at work, a recipe question, the kind of thoughtless check-ins that daughters do. Then I'd remember and experience the loss all over again. It wasn't that I missed them specifically. I missed the dream of caring parents. My apartment felt different, smaller and quieter. I'd get home from work and sit in the solitude, realizing that for the first time in my life, I was completely alone. There is no safety net, no backup plan, and no family to rely on if things go wrong. It was simultaneously horrifying and liberating. During this period, I began visiting a therapist named Dr. Grace Kim. Hannah recommended her, and it was one of the best moves I've ever made. In our third session, I completely broke down. I keep thinking I'm overreacting. I wailed into my tissue. Maybe I should just apologize and go back. Maybe having a family, even a bad one, is better than having no one. Dr. Kim leaned forward in her chair. "Claire, you didn't cause this break. You simply stopped accepting unacceptable treatment. There's a difference between being alone and being lonely. Right now you're alone by choice, because being with them made you feel lonelier than being by yourself." Her remark struck me as a revelation. She was correct. I felt more alone at the dinner table, unnoticed and rejected, than I had at my empty apartment. "What they did was emotional abuse," Dr. Kim said gently. "Favoritism to this extreme, constant comparisons, withholding support, while lavishing it on your sister, are examples of psychological injury. You're not overreacting. You're protecting yourself." Over the next few months, therapy assisted me in unpacking 28 years of harm. I began to recognize patterns that I had never observed before. How my mother would lay Olivia for the simplest successes, but never acknowledge my own, no matter how great. My father would light up when Olivia entered a room, yet hardly look up from his newspaper when I arrived home. How family images were meticulously chosen to highlight Olivia, but I was frequently chopped out or pushed to the margins. I remembered graduating from high school with honors and receiving a full scholarship to community college. My parents had arrived late, missed my name being called, and then left early because Olivia had a hair appointment. When I grew offended, my mother told me, "Don't be so sensitive, Claire. It's only a graduation. Olivia's prom is next week and it's far more important." Dr. Grace Kim requested me to bring in photographs from my youth. Looking over them with her, I noticed things I had overlooked. Olivia was the focal point of every photograph, always smiling and colorful. I was usually slightly off focus, my grin unsure and my body language indicating uneasiness. In one especially terrible photo from Olivia's Sweet 17, I was practically standing outside the frame, partially chopped off, as Olivia stood with our parents, as if they were the ideal family of 3. This must have been so painful to live through. Dr. Kim murmured softly, scrutinizing the images. "I just thought it was normal," I said. "I thought maybe I deserved it somehow, like there was something fundamentally wrong with me that made me unlovable. There is nothing wrong with you, Claire. There was something extremely wrong with the way you were treated." With this new insight, I turned my pain into productivity. Therapy offered me clarity, which gave me concentration. Every session in which I unpacked each layer of dysfunction fueled my drive to achieve. I immersed myself into my job at the tech startup, where I'd been working for 3 years. I was a junior developer, but I had huge ambitions. In my leisure time, I was working on a software project that had the potential to transform inventory management for small and medium-sized enterprises. It used machine learning to forecast supply requirements based on hundreds of criteria, resulting in less waste and greater efficiency. The software began as a class project in my final year of university. Dr. David Reyes, My professor had pulled me aside after I finished presenting it. "Claire, this is excellent job. Have you considered taking this further? This may be commercially viable." At the time, I was too preoccupied with simply existing, working my nightly job, studying in my spare time, and getting by on 4 hours of sleep to fully examine it. But I kept the code hidden away in a folder on my laptop, like a seed waiting for the ideal conditions to sprout. Now, with my family's rejection ringing in my ears and Dr. Kim's urging to use my energy productively, I dug out that old project. Every evening and weekend I worked on refining, expanding, and improving it. My small apartment became mission control. I set up a workstation in my bedroom, purchased a second monitor with funds from my tax refund, and worked till my eyes burned and my fingers ached. The first concept was sound, but I realized it required more. I used predictive analytics to forecast seasonal trends, connected it with different point-of-sale systems, and created a user-friendly dashboard that even the least tech-savvy business owner could use. I beta tested it with 4 small businesses, including the corner store where I worked in college. Mrs. Gomez, the owner, called me after the first month. "Claire, this thing you constructed is fantastic. I haven't had to toss out any expired products in weeks. My orders are wonderful. You should sell this." Her remarks provided the validation I needed. While Olivia was apparently enjoying her opulent wedding, I wouldn't know because I wasn't invited. I was working on something important. I worked 15-hour days, motivated by coffee and a strong desire to show something to myself. Hannah would occasionally bring me dinner after discovering me still coding at midnight. "You're going to burn out," she cautioned one evening as I debugged a particularly difficult area of code. "I can't stop now," I informed her, staring at my laptop. "This is it, Hannah. This is my shot." Jason, my supervisor at the startup, noticed my weariness one morning when I almost fell asleep in a meeting. He then pulled me aside. "You look dreadful, Claire. What's happening?" I almost ignored him, but something compelled me to be honest. I've been working on a side project involving inventory management software and machine learning. I believe it could be something big. His eyes expanded. "Show me." 8 months after cutting off touch with my family, I presented my software to Jason in the company's small conference room. My hands shook as I set up my laptop, attached it to the projector, and guided him through each function. I presented him the beta findings, user feedback, and market research I had conducted on competitors. I had prepared for every imaginable inquiry, criticism, and uncertainty. Jason observed silently, his countenance unreadable. After I finished, he sat back in his chair and sighed softly. "This is fantastic, Claire. Genuinely brilliant." My heart pounded against my ribcage. "So, what do you think?" "I think," he added, leaning forward and smiling, "that we need to expand this into a comprehensive product, and I believe you should be a partner in this organization, not just an employee." I could not breathe. "What you've heard me. This kind of invention, this kind of initiative that is partnership material. We will develop it under the company's roof, and you will receive equity, profit share, and other benefits. But Claire, keep this between ourselves until we are ready to launch. This will be our flagship product." I wanted to contact someone to tell them the news, to scream my joy into the phone. Then I realized there wasn't nobody to call. My family was gone, and all of my childhood pals had been Olivia's first. But Hannah was present that evening, and when I informed her, she yelled loudly enough for both of us. "You got it!" she squealed, squeezing me so tightly that I could not breathe. "You actually finished it." Within 3 months, we had transformed my program into a polished, marketable solution. Jason hired developers to help scale it, but I remained the principal architect, the one who knew its bones and blood. We titled it Inventory IQ, and our first large client was a chain of 30 sports goods stores in the Midwest. They reported a 45% reduction in waste during the first quarter. The testimonials started pouring in. Business periodicals wrote about us. Within 8 months, we had our first significant national retail chain, with over 220 stores eager to apply Inventory IQ throughout their network. The contract was for $3.6 million. I sat at the meeting where we signed the agreement, dressed in a blazer I'd purchased just for the occasion, and watched Jason shake hands with their CEO. Then he turned to me. "We've just changed your life, Claire. Do you know that within a year we had expanded fast? We added a sales team, customer service representatives, and additional developers. My title changed from junior developer to chief technology officer. My annual income increased from $60,000 to $260,000, which included equity and profit sharing. Jason promoted me to full partner, and I immediately went from living paycheck to paycheck to receiving revenue shares that made my head spin. The software took off in ways I had never expected. We extended beyond retail to include restaurants, warehouses, and even hospitals that manage medical supplies. Inventory IQ proved useful in every new industry we entered. The algorithm I wrote in my bedroom, fueled by hope and caffeine, was suddenly analyzing millions of data points every day for hundreds of companies. I recruited a financial consultant, a bright woman named Lauren, whom Jason recommended. She sat me down in her office, reviewed my accounts, and grinned. "Claire, do you know how much money you are making? I know it's a lot." I responded, still unable to comprehend the situation. "You'll be a millionaire by the end of the fiscal year. If this rate of growth continues, I will most likely be a multi-millionaire. We need to discuss investments, tax strategies, and long-term planning." Multi-millionaire. The word felt alien and unattainable. I had spent so many years counting pennies and deciding whether to buy groceries or gas for my car. That type of wealth seemed like a language I had never learned to speak. But Lauren taught me. We built a diverse investment portfolio that included stocks, bonds, and real estate. She guided me through tax benefits, retirement planning, and wealth preservation. Every decision was strategic. Every money was put to work. "Money isn't just about having it," Lauren said during one of our meetings. "The goal is to make it work for you. You've earned it, Claire. Now let us make sure it grows." 3 years after that dinner, where my parents told me I didn't deserve support, my bank account was worth 7 figures. I paid off my college loans in full in a single payment, watching the balance drop to zero with almost spiritual delight. The $48,000 that had hovered over me like a cloud had vanished, and my future was no longer bound by it. I remember doing overnight shifts at the grocery store, scanning products at 3 a.m. During calm periods, students can study for exams. I recall eating the cheapest instant ramen, skipping meals to purchase textbooks, and wearing shoes with holes since new ones weren't in the budget. Every sacrifice had led to this point. I had invested, properly diversified my portfolio, and worked with a financial consultant to make sound selections. Then I purchased a house, not just any house, but a custom-built contemporary masterpiece in the city's most prestigious neighborhood, Evergreen Heights. 5 bedrooms, 6 bathrooms, a chef's dream kitchen, and a patio with an infinity pool overlooking the skyline. The purchase price was $5.5 million, and I paid 35% down in cash. Finding the house was an event in and of itself. Monica, a Polish realtor who only worked with high net worth customers, was hesitant when I initially approached her. I was 30 years old, dressed in jeans and a blazer for our first meeting, and requested to visit multi-million-dollar homes. "Have you received pre-approval from a lender?" she'd inquired, her tone professional but skeptical. I gave her a letter from my bank. Her brow lifted steadily as she read it. "I see. So let's find you a home." We looked at 10 properties over 3 weeks. Each was beautiful, enormous estates, antique homes, and modern architectural wonders, but nothing felt quite right until Monica showed me the contemporary and Evergreen Heights. It was still under construction, roughly 70% completed. We strolled through what would become the living room, and I glanced out at the wall of windows overlooking the city. Michael Park, a prominent architect, was on site that day. "This is the crown jewel of the development," he said, leading us through the skeleton of chambers, Florida ceiling windows, smart home connectivity, and geothermal heating and cooling. "The infinity pool will appear to stream directly into the metropolitan skyline. Can I change the design?" I inquired, brushing my palm across an exposed beam. Mike and Monica exchanged looks. Depends on the changes, Michael explained cautiously. We're pretty far along in the master suite. I would like to increase the bathroom, and I need a bigger home office much larger, minimum size 22 by 26 feet, built-in bookshelves. Multiple workstations require specialized electrical services. Soundproofing. Michael took out the designs and set them out on an improvised table made of sawhorses and plywood. I can make that work, but it'll add to the cost and the timeline. How much and how long, I asked. He did a few fast calculations. Another $280,000, and we're looking at 5 more months of construction. I did not hesitate. Do it. Monica regarded me with renewed respect. Are you serious about this? Completely. The house was everything I'd ever hoped for, and nothing I expected to attain. As building progressed over the next few months, I paid weekly visits to the site. I saw my vision come to life. The extended master bathroom with a soaking tub overlooking the city, the home office that would become my sanctuary, and the gourmet kitchen with professional-grade appliances that I was gradually learning to use. I selected every finish fixture and paint color. The designer Michael introduced me to a bright woman named Isabel. She had amazing taste, yet always listened to my wishes. "This is your home," Mom would reply whenever I questioned a decision. "It should reflect who you are." Who was I? For the first time in my life, I had the freedom to make my own decisions without the influence or judgment of others. I went with deep blues and warm grays, clean lines, and natural materials. I chose furniture that was comfortable rather than simply striking, and art that spoke to me rather than what was popular. Michael personally delivered me the keys on the day I received them in the finished living room. "It's been a pleasure to work with you, Claire. This house is something special. Floor-to-ceiling windows, smart home technology throughout, and a home office larger than my previous flat." The day I received the keys, I stood in the empty living room and cried. Not sad tears, but the kind that come when you realize you finally made it. Despite everything, the moving-in procedure was strange. I hired expert movers who handled everything with care that I had never seen before. My modest apartment items, my used couch garage sale dining table, and clearance rack clothes looked out of place in the vast room. "We need to get you some furniture," Hannah explained, standing in the vast living room. So we did. I recruited Isabel to help me furnish the house, and for the first time in my life I did not look at the price tags. That leather sectional I had always wanted was ordered. The dining table could accommodate 12 people, which was ideal. A bed that was more expensive than my first car. Why not? But even as I packed the house, I was cautious. Dr. Grace Kim's remarks rang in my head during a session after I had moved in. Wealth can heal certain wounds, but it can also cause new ones if you're not cautious. Don't let success define you in the same way that your family's rejection did. I made an effort to stay grounded. I continued to drive my reliable but modest Honda Accord, though I did trade it in for a new one. I still shopped at regular grocery stores and met Hannah for our weekly lunch dates at informal restaurants. The mansion was a symbol of my accomplishment, but it did not represent my identity. Daniel and I met 3 months after I moved in at a technology conference in Seattle. I had been asked to speak on a panel about innovation and inventory management, which still felt unreal. Following my talk, he approached me at the networking reception. "That was impressive," he replied, extending his hand. "Daniel Cooper. I'm a software engineer at Data Flow Systems. Claire Harris." "And thank you." He was tall with kind eyes, and when he smiled it seemed real. We talked for an hour with topics ranging from work to novels to the horrible coffee offered during the conference. "May I take you to dinner?" he inquired as the reception closed down. "Somewhere with better coffee." I paused. Dating was never easy for me. My few relationships in college were fleeting, exacerbated by my work schedule and emotional unavailability. Opening out to someone means risking rejection, and I'd had enough of that for a lifetime. But there was something about Daniel that made me feel comfortable. "Sure," I replied. "I'd like that." Dinner morphed into a late-night tour around Seattle. We discussed everything, our childhood's hopes and failures, When I stated being estranged from my family, he simply nodded in understanding. My parents divorced when I was young, he explained. My father wasn't excellent at staying in touch thereafter. I understand the complicated family thing. By the end of the meeting, we had spent every available moment together. Long distances were difficult. He was based in Portland, but we made it work through video conversations, weekend trips, and continuous texting. He was enthusiastic about my work, interested in my ideas, and never made me feel like I was too much or not enough. 7 months into our relationship, I invited him to see the house. I was concerned that it might appear that I was bragging or that our disparity in wealth would cause problems. I picked him up at the airport and we headed to Evergreen Heights. "So where exactly do you live?" he inquired, observing the neighborhoods gradually improve. "You'll see," I answered, approaching the gate. When the gate opened and we pulled up to the house, his jaw fell. "Claire, is this yours?" "Yes." He was quiet as we strolled in, taking in the soaring ceilings, the view, and the obvious signs of accomplishment. I held my breath, expecting criticism, resentment, and anything to go wrong. Instead, he turned to me in the living room and smiled. "This is incredible. You created this life for yourself, didn't you?" "Yes, I'm proud of you," he simply stated, pulling me into a hug. Those 4 words, "I'm proud of you," shattered my heart. My parents had never mentioned them in 28 years. But this man I'd known for 7 months stated them with confidence, and I believed him. I did not tell anyone from my previous life. Why should I? They made it plain that I was on my own. Hannah assisted me in moving in, as did my boyfriend Daniel, whom I met at the tech conference 9 months prior. He was a software engineer at a prominent corporation, kind, helpful, and unconcerned about my family problems. Life was good, better than good. I had a job I like, people who valued me, and a home that was all mine. The hole where my family used to be had healed, leaving a scar, but no open wound. Then, 2 weeks ago, my carefully crafted tranquility crumbled. My doorbell rang while I was in my home office on a video call with a client. I ignored it. I had a smart doorbell that recorded everything which I could review later, but then my phone started buzzing, an unknown number followed by another. After my meeting, I reviewed my doorbell footage. My stomach sank. It was Olivia. She was standing at my front gate, staring up at my house, her mouth literally hanging wide. She tried the intercom, looked through the gates, and even tried to take photos over the fence. Then I checked my voicemails. "Hi, Claire. This is Olivia. I was traveling through Evergreen Heights with some buddies when I noticed your name on the mailbox. This cannot be correct. Call me back." The next one got angrier. "What the hell, Claire? How come you have a house here? These houses are worth millions. Call me back right now." The third was not from Olivia. It was my mother, and her voice was harsh and emotional. "Claire, Marie, your sister just called me crying, completely hysterical, and said, 'You live in a mansion?' She asked. 'Why does she have that when we gave her nothing? You must call us quickly and explain what is going on.' I listened to 9 voicemails, each of which was more demanding than the last. The 6th one had my father's gruff and confused voice. "Hi, Claire. This is your father. We need to discuss your problem. This is a family company. Call us back." I erased them all without answering. Yet the messages continued. Over the next week, I received 50 calls from different family members. Olivia appears to have launched a full-scale campaign. My Aunt Karen, Uncle Greg, and even my grandmother contacted me. The messages varied from concerned to congratulatory to downright accusatory. My grandmother's message was especially telling. "Sweetheart, your mother is beside herself. She doesn't understand how you can be doing so well without notifying your family. She feels cheated because you kept this success a secret. Please call her. Betrayed." The word nearly made me giggle. They had betrayed me throughout my life, but now that I have something they want to be a part of, I'm the bad guy for not sharing. Hannah came over with wine after I explained what was going on. "So what are you planning to do?" "Nothing," I said, pouring us each huge glasses. "I'm going to do exactly what they taught me to do. Live my life without them. "They're going to keep trying," she said. She was correct. The calls persisted, then followed the mail forwarded from my previous address. My mother's handwriting on the envelope made my hands shake, but I read it nonetheless. "Claire, I cannot understand why you are doing this. We are your family. Yes, we disagreed 3 years ago, but this is absurd. Your sister is heartbroken that you are living in luxury, while she and Ethan are struggling in their starter house. Your father's dealership has not been doing well, and we could really need your assistance. Surely with all of your success you can leave something for those who raised you. We committed mistakes, but family is forgiving. It's time to come home and rejoin this family. Olivia is pregnant, and she wants her child to know their aunt. Love, Mom." I reread it 3 times, each time discovering additional layers of manipulation. They wanted me back now that I had money. Olivia was struggling in her starter home, which they undoubtedly helped with the down payment for while benefiting from my prosperity, and the pregnancy announcement was used as bait to get me back. I wrote a reply. I wrote it, rewrote it, and tweaked it about a dozen times. Finally, I found something that expressed what I needed to convey. "Linda, you are correct about one thing. We disagreed 3 years ago. You said I didn't deserve any support. You said I wasn't the daughter you should be proud of. You gave Olivia $90,000 while sending me the clear message that I was worth nothing to this family. So I listened. I created a life where I don't require your assistant's approval or presence. I deserve the achievements I've achieved through my own hard work. Something you never thought I was capable of. You feel cheated because I kept my success concealed. I did not keep anything secret. I simply do not have a relationship with you anymore. You are not entitled to receive updates on my life finances or happiness. Olivia's kid will have a large family, but I will not be included. Just as I was not included in the family image you made it obvious I did not fit into. Do not contact me again. Claire." I sent it certified mail, so I knew she got it. The confirmation arrived 2 days later. The answer was swift and explosive. Within an hour of receiving the delivery confirmation, my phone phoned with my father's number. I did not respond, but the voicemail he left was remarkable. "How dare you?" His voice was shaking from wrath. "How could you reject our generosity? We provided you a shelter over your head and food to eat. And this is how you pay us back. You are a selfish, ungrateful brat who does not deserve the success you have achieved. Claire, mark my words. You will fall, and when you do not come crawling back to us." I saved the voicemail not because it hurt, though it did, but because it served as proof. Proof that I had made the correct decision. Daniel discovered me sitting in our home theater staring at nothing. "Are you okay?" he inquired, sitting next to me. "They called me selfish," I explained. "After everything, I'm the selfish one." He pushed me closer. "Do you know what I think? I suppose they are afraid. They are afraid because they can no longer control you. They cannot use love, money, or guilt to control you. You're successful and happy without them, and that undermines their claim that you needed them." He was correct. My accomplishment had wrecked the tale they had told themselves. Olivia was the capable one, the one who deserved investment, and I was the problem child who would never amount to anything. 2 days ago, something changed. Hannah called me, her voice full of concern. "You need to see this." She texted me a screenshot. Olivia had posted on Facebook, and it had been shared publicly. The privacy settings must have been incorrect as it was spreading. The post reads, "Some people forget where they are from. My sister has millions while her family is struggling, and she refuses to receive our calls. Money has an impact on individuals, and it is not always positive. I hope she remembers what family means before it's too late." The comments were a mix of support for Olivia and requests for further detail. Several people left comments like, "There are always 2 sides to a story. Perhaps she has valid reasons, but what struck me was my mother's remark. We gave her everything as she grew up, and this is how she repays us. Some children simply do not have gratitude in their hearts." I stared at the words, everything. Had they given me everything? According to her reconstructed history, the bus pass rather than the car was everything. Student loans rather than paid tuition were everything. Constant comparisons and disappointments were everything. I've made a decision. I'd had enough of keeping my side of the story to myself. I set up a new Facebook account using my complete name. I simply created one post which I made public. I wrote, "I've been questioned by common acquaintances why I don't communicate with my family. Here is the truth. 3 years ago, my parents gifted my sister $9,000 for her wedding. When I inquired whether they could help with my student loans which I had accumulated because unlike my sister, I had received no financial assistance for college, I was informed, 'You don't deserve any aid.' My father claimed I had always been the disappointing child. My mother claimed I had never appreciated what they had done for me, so I followed their counsel. I stopped asking for assistance. I built a successful career in technology, developed software that is now used by hundreds of businesses. And sure, I purchased a beautiful home with money I earned myself. I did not hide my success out of contempt. I just do not have relationships with those who have made it apparent that I am unworthy of their love and support. They want to get back in now that I've achieved success. They feel entitled to my money time and forgiveness. But here's what I learned. You can't choose when to be family. You can't tell someone they're worthless and then expect them to share their worth with you. You cannot skip the investment and claim the returns. To those who claim I should forgive because they are relatives, they had 20 years to treat me like family. They decided not to. I'm only following the boundaries they set. I am successful, happy, and surrounded by people who loved me even when I had nothing. That is all that matters. I posted it and shut down the laptop. Whatever occurred next, at least the truth was revealed. Within 8 hours, the post had 2,000 shares. By the next morning, it had surpassed 12,000. People discovered Olivia's post and commented on it, wondering why she took out the part about the $90,000 and the "you don't deserve help" talk. My mother called from a number that I had not banned. I responded this time. "How could you?" she growled before I could say hello. "How could you broadcast our private family business like that? Do you understand how humiliated we are? Your father's customers are aware of this. Olivia's friends have asked her about it." "You made a public post calling me ungrateful." I responded gently. "I simply provided context. We never said such things. You are twisting everything." "I am not twisting anything, Linda. You said precisely what I quoted. You want to know what is truly humiliating. Having your parents tell you directly that you are not worth helping. That is humiliation." She was crying now. "We made mistakes, but you are our daughter. Doesn't this signify anything?" "It used to," I replied gently. "It used to represent everything. But you taught me that love in this family was conditional. It depended on being the right kind of daughter, making the right decisions, and being someone you could be proud of. I was not going to be that person for you, so I become that person for myself. Claire, please. Goodbye, Linda." I hung up and blocked the number. Daniel was in the kitchen preparing dinner when I walked in. He stared at me and read my expression. "How are you feeling?" I thought about it. Really thought about it. "Free," I finally replied. "I feel free." The post gradually died off. My family stopped trying to contact me, most likely because they were humiliated when their own actions became public. I learned via Hannah, who heard from a mutual acquaintance, that my father's dealership was actually doing well, that his story about struggling was a ruse to coerce me into financial assistance. Olivia had a kid 4 months ago. I know because my grandmother found my office address and mailed me a birth announcement. I had no reaction when I saw the baby's picture. A tiny girl called Ella. Nor anger nor sadness, just a vague realization that somewhere out there I had a niece I'd never meet. I sent the announcement to the shredder and returned to work. Last week I became engaged. Daniel proposed over a weekend trip to the shore, and I accepted without hesitation. We are arranging a small ceremony with only close friends and the family we have selected for ourselves. Hannah will be my maid of honor. Daniel's parents, who have treated me more kindly in 3 years than my own parents did in 28, will accompany me down the aisle. We will pay for the wedding ourselves, so it will cost anything we want. There is freedom in knowing that every decision we make is our own, free of responsibility or guilt. Sometimes late at night, I wonder what would have occurred if they had simply answered yes that day. Would I have been as motivated to succeed as I was if they had given Olivia even a tenth of what they did? Would I have stayed in their lives, settled for less, and never challenged myself to create something extraordinary? I will never know. But I know this. Rejection was the nicest present they ever gave me. It compelled me to bet everything on myself, and I won. My house is more than just a building worth $6 million. It demonstrates that I was always more valuable than they could see. Every room window and carefully picked detail reflects the person I became when I stopped seeking for their approval. Olivia drove past my house and called our mother, crying, wondering why I had anything while they had given me nothing. The solution is straightforward. I have this since they didn't give me anything. Their absence produced a hunger that drove my accomplishment. Their uncertainty fueled my desire. Their rejection led to my redemption. I don't dislike them anymore. Hatred necessitates caring, and I've progressed beyond that. They are simply people who made decisions, and I made different ones. Their losses are not my responsibility to bear. Hannah asked me last night if I ever regretted cutting them off. I gazed around my home office at the life I'd established at Daniel, who was planning our wedding in the next room, and at my profession, which challenged and fulfilled me. No, I replied. I don't think I will. Some people spend their entire lives attempting to prove themselves to relatives who will never recognize their worth. Instead, I spent 3 years proving it to myself, which has made all the difference. Every evening the city lights dazzle below my infinity pool, reminding me of how far I've gone since that dinner table where I was told I didn't deserve aid. They were correct in a manner. I didn't deserve their help. I deserve so much more, and I discovered it on my own. That is my story. That's how I went from disappointed daughter to woman with the $6 million house, not through retribution or hatred, but simply by believing in myself, when no one else did.